Hello and welcome to Cooking the Books with Heather. Today we're going to be cooking once again from Vivian Howard's Deep Run Roots cookbook because it is fig season again in North Carolina, and we were gifted with a large bag of figs from our neighbor. Now my husband's already made another batch of fig and honey bourbon slush. I'll link that up here, so if you have a ton of figs, you can go ahead and make that as well. But we are going to be making whole fruit fig and lemon preserves. We're going to be making a half batch because I didn't have quite enough to make a full batch. So I took half of the amount that she says, and the rest are now in the freezer because they were very ripe and probably would have started going moldy in the refrigerator real soon. So most of these are pretty firm, but a few are a little squishy, but that's okay. They weren't moldy. So they might get a little extra squishy when we cook these, but she says you want perfectly ripe figs for these, and these were nicely ripe, so that's good. I've already rinsed them and I took the stems off. She says she doesn't do what you prefer. She likes the way they look in the final product. So the thing about this is we need to mix some stuff up and then let it sit in the refrigerator for 6 hours or overnight. So we're gonna go ahead and do this now, and in about 6 hours, it'll be kind of late, but we'll cook it at that point. It'll be about when we're cooking things for dinner, and really once you get it going, you don't have to pay attention to it. And it's a lot like, so her other book, her newer book, This Will Make It Taste Good, has something in it called Sweet Potential. And this really seems like just a fig version of that. And in that recipe, you can make it with any kind of fruit, but I've made it, I don't think I've made it on camera for you guys, but I've made a couple versions for our own use at home this year. But hopefully I'll be making that for you guys on camera soon. Maybe, we'll see. I might do a fall version because we haven't done that before. Anyway, so it's really simple. 3 ingredients. We have our figs, whole. We have quite a lot of sugar. This is half the amount, like I said, of everything. And we have some very thinly sliced lemons without the seeds. So it's really easy to pull the seeds out as you slice them. And I basically sliced until I could see the fruit and sliced up about half of it. And there we go. Now we're supposed to toss this gently. I was gonna do this just, the chefy way with the bowl, but I'm totally gonna get sugar everywhere if I do that. So I'm gonna get a spatula, yeah. I'm gonna be very careful, but some of these will likely get a little extra mashed up while I toss it. So I'm gonna be very careful about that, just to kind of get down the sides. And I think that is probably good for the stirring. This is gonna go in the refrigerator for 6 hours, like I said, or overnight. And I expect that some of the sugar will leach out some of the juices from the fruit, and we'll probably have a nice puddly mess when we take it out. Not a mess, but juicy. And we'll see you then. So our figs and sugar and lemon have been in the refrigerator for probably about 8 hours almost now, and you can see there's a lot of juice and not all of the sugar has dissolved yet, but we're ready to go ahead and cook it. So we're going to gently put it in this. She says to use a Dutch oven. This is a pretty heavy sauce pot. 4 to 6 quarts for the full recipe. This is a 4 quart, so that should be fine as far as the size goes. I'm just gonna try and get all this sugar out of here as much as I can. I'm gonna keep this around to stick my spatula in because I won't really be needing it all that much. In fact, we're supposed to not stir this very much because the more you stir it, the more you might break up the fruit. And the point of this is to have mostly whole fruit in this. So she says to bring it up to a boil over medium heat, and I ain't got that time. I ain't got time for that. Not tonight. Everything always takes longer when we're filming. It takes longer than we expect, and always. So I've got it on high heat. I'm gonna bring it up to a boil, and then as soon as it comes up to a boil, we're gonna put the lid on, make sure it gets a good simmer. So on this, it's usually about a 3, and that will keep it simmering. And we're gonna let it go for about an hour. So she says about an hour, but at 45 minutes, you should check them. I'm gonna turn it down a little bit. Make sure it's still at a boil. I'm trying to get more of the stuff off of my spatula just by putting it in there. There we go. So I think it is close to boiling, at least on the edges. Some in the middle. So I'm gonna make sure it still boils as I turn it down. All right, I'm gonna put the lid on now, and I'll probably turn it down in just a little bit as it gets to a really full boil with the lid on. But we're gonna let it go for 45 minutes, and then we're gonna check it. So we'll see you in 45 minutes. Okay, so our 45-minute timer hasn't quite gone off yet. It has probably 3 minutes left on it at this point. But I think I think they're probably done. I was checking them, and so she says to basically put the spoon in and then drag your finger along the back of the spoon, and if it immediately covers itself back up, then it's not done. You cook it longer. But if your finger mark stays for any length of time, they're done. And so this is pretty good, I think. So I'm going to turn it off. I did kind of boil them a little high for a while. They boiled over a little bit, but these are done. I'm going to put them in a quart jar, and I have a half pint in case there's any left over. She says the full recipe makes 3 pints. So the half recipe might fit in the quart jar. I don't know. We'll see. She says they keep in the refrigerator for about 2 months, or you can process them for about 5 minutes, just like jams and jellies. And then they will keep, not indefinitely, but for much longer at room temperature. So hang on, we'll let you know what we think in just a minute. On this episode of Cooking the Books with Heather, you watched me make whole fruit fig and lemon preserves from Vivian Howard's Deep Run Roots cookbook. Now, this is a lot like the sweet potential that she has in her This Will Make It Taste Good cookbook, which is basically any kind of fruit, lemon, and sugar cooked together, and then it's basically the whole fruit preserve. This came first. This is the recipe in Deep Run Roots. We have done that. I don't think we've done it on the channel, but I have done it from This Will Make It Taste Good, just to sort of have some strawberry and blueberries. I needed to use those up before they went bad, so I made some of that, and we've been using it for drinks and cocktails and whatever. But we use this as a syrup, or I use this as a syrup on some Eggo waffles, just because I happen to have those, and I had those for breakfast the next day, and it was really good. It is very, very sweet. I'm sure you could cut down the sugar, especially if you aren't going to can it, then you don't have to worry about the sugar levels and all of that. But if you're just going to put it in your refrigerator and keep it for a while or freeze it, I'm sure it would freeze fine. You could bring down the sweetness if it turns out to be too sweet for you. But it was pretty good on the waffles as a syrup instead of syrup. Butter, some of this, it's pretty delicious. And I can eat cooked figs, usually. I really want to make a fig cake using these. That is something that we have had before. Figs are really popular around here, and we've been to they grow like crazy around here. And we've been to a bed and breakfast on Ocracoke, which served us fig cake for both breakfast and snack. And it's really a spiced cake using fig preserves, and it's really delicious. And so I do plan on using these to make one of those here soon. But you can use it like you would use any sort of preserve. She also says that you can put them on a scoop of ice cream, or simmer them down with some red wine, sherry, or balsamic vinegar and use that as a condiment for grilled meats. So I'll have to think about that too. That's sort of like, you know, adding the vinegar and the red wine or whatever. That's sort of like making a barbecue sauce, right? So a condiment for grilled meats, that would be pretty good because you get the sweet and then the tangy, the acidicness from the wine or the vinegar. I think that would be delicious. Anyway, if you enjoyed watching me make this, please give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and come back and watch me make something else next week.